I remember I made up voices. So like there was Dinnick had retainers. So I'd cold call people, and I wasn't a performer or anything, but I was around a bunch of other younger people, and I think I managed to have fun with it, right? And not take it as seriously.
Yes. I'm Chris Bussing. Welcome to my channel. It's committed to helping more people create a life of freedom and impact through success in tech sales and the pursuit of self-development. We've got an amazing guest today, Jake Dunlap, who has a book coming out, The Innovative Seller, and who runs Skaled Consulting. We're going to learn about the importance of adapting to innovative changes in technology like generative AI or becoming obsolete. And you guys don't want the latter to happen. So let's dig into this conversation, learn from Jake. And if you enjoy the conversation, make sure to give a like to the video and share it with other people who could benefit from the message. Jake, thanks so much for being here, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm looking forward to it. I love being back face-to-face. I love doing more of these. I've been doing a lot more of these face-to-face. And so it's good to be here. I'm looking forward to it. And, talking to people about what they can do to stay relevant and thrive.
There's a certain magic to in-person, so glad to create some magic with you. And
There
it's
you
easy
go.
to do that with
And
amazing.
it's Valentine's Day too, so
Happy Valentine's Day.
There's like
I'm a single dude, I'm a single 30-year-old dude, so I didn't even realize today was Valentine's Day. I just got me and my puppy. She's the most loving dog in the world. I feel lucky. But you've got some Valentine's Day plans with the wifey?
we are playing pickleball tonight, so that is our Valentine's Day plan, and then we're going skiing. So it'll be fun.
Is pickleball the secret to a happy marriage?
No, the opposite. This is actually our last try at playing together. I'm very competitive, and so I've learned and evolved over my relationship to be an appropriate amount of competitive. I've realized there's
that's fun.
There's a line of competitiveness that I struggle to stay within, but I'm getting better. So tonight will be fantastic. It's Valentine's Day too, so I gotta lock it up.
So are you gonna let her win or?
No, it's couples. So we're on the same team, and so
okay.
So that's where it is.
The move.
No, it's not. I mean, again,
it's not the move.
When you get too competitive, you're like, you hit it into the net. Like, come on, we've talked about.
Yeah.
You could take it too far. Let's put it that way. But
so I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. I did my LinkedIn stalking. Every good seller does.
Yeah, sure.
And I saw you were a leader at Glassdoor.
Mm-hmm.
And the rave reviews you got, Jake is one of the best leaders I've ever seen. I think the CEO of Bravado, great sales community, said the greatest sales leader I've ever seen, right? You elevate people. Now you've got Skaled Consulting. And when I say now, I think it's been 11 years you've been in business and you're helping companies scale their businesses from a sales perspective. I know I dumbed that down a little bit.
That's the basics.
So tell us about your story and your journey.
Sure, man. I mean, I'm from Kansas City, the back-to-back world champion. So also a very good time to be from Kansas City. Thank you. Look, I started my sales career actually in college. I did telemarketing, and it paid really well. And I was naturally, for whatever reason, I had the ability to not take rejection like other people did, meaning I didn't let it personally get me down. To where people. I mean, I was getting your credit card over the phone to send you to a timeshare pitch. It's like a 2-night, 3-day trip to Tunica, Mississippi, or something, right?
Tunica, Mississippi,
historic Williamsburg, Durango. I'm trying to think. There's some other ones that we sold, but I had to get your credit card. You had to give me $35, and we threw in a bunch of perks. And so, by the time I graduated college, I went and waited tables after that too. It's a little bit easier and also good money, but by the time I got into the professional world, I was exponentially better than my peers. I went from group sales to account executive to senior account executive to running me and another guy running inside sales at the Tampa Bay Rays in 16 months.
Yeah,
and I think very early, I'm very curious. I love reading, and I was very much a student of sales, and I've always been a student of sales. And fast forward, we'll talk about the book in a little bit, and that really started at my very first job. There's a guy who was older than me, and he had read a bunch of books, and he fed me the books, and so I'd read the books, I'd hear what other people were doing, I would steal what they were doing, and I'd use it. And so I think my theme early in my career, from early 20s to late 20s, early 30s, was always taking more responsibility. I think it's one of the biggest issues I see with people today. Look, when I went from individual contributor to leader, I took a pay cut. But guess what? Who cares? I'm tray to get the pay day in 5 years. And too many salespeople are too short-sighted. Look, if you need 10 or 15 or 20 grand, look, you might, right? And that's fine. Like life situation, family, whatever. But too many people, I think, that I witnessed in my career in their 20s just were too short-sighted. They weren't thinking about, am I getting responsibility? Am I learning a skill? And I was always focused on learning skills. I was the number one inside manager for 2.5 years at a company, realized the next level up manager job wasn't going to stretch me that much. Like my team was already closing 6-figure deals. The reps were like a little bit more senior. And I knew, look, if I was, I think 28 at the time, 28, 29, if I was going to lead 45-year-old enterprise sellers, I needed to do enterprise sales. So I chose to go back into the field, move to San Francisco, become an enterprise rep, was one of 70, the youngest national account executive when I got promoted like 8 months into that job. And then that's when, my first kind of VP opportunity, I was a successful leader. That company offered to pay for my MBA, so I did it. So I paid, Career Builder paid for my MBA. So I went to school 18 months straight, working full time and doing 15 hours every single night or every single week. And then I had enterprise sales experience. So when opportunity came up at 31 to be the first VP of sales at Glassdoor, I had the qualifications. And I think too many people, I've always looked at my career like that. Now as a CEO, there's a whole new set of skill sets I've had to learn over the last 11 years. And for me, what I finally realized is I love sales. I love the process. I love building. Why am I doing this for other people? After the second go around, I'm like, why am I doing this for other people? If I have I think it's a skill set to be able to understand and see the patterns and repeatability in sales that I was very fortunate. I had a leader kind of like open the curtain for me. But, now we've got 30 plus people globally. We've got people in Canada, the UK. And yeah, like you said, we're helping people solve sales performance challenges, outbound optimization. That's a mix of process and technology. So, it's been a journey. I'm still excited, just as I ever was, about sales and where we're going. And it's going to be different and struggle for some people, but I love the process and art of sales.
It really is an art, man. What a path. Like, what are your thoughts on the beauty of this path if people go down it and put in the work? Like, what types of opportunities can the path of sales really open up?
Well, it's a double-edged sword whenever you like go to run your own company. I'll tell you that, just depending on how your brain works. Like for me, like you learn how to think top line only. You don't learn about like making profit and like how that all works. And I think that I sucked at that for a long time. I was like, we'll just close more deals and we'll figure it out. And I finally have someone in the business now who's she's the executioner. She's the one who's like looking at costs, doing this stuff. And I tried to do it on my own for too long. So there's also a negative part about being a sales leader than starting your own business. For me, the path, again, I don't know if it was this natural curiosity that I had of just like, if I'm going to be a professional, then I need to act like this is my profession. If you are a professional basketball player, if you're a professional athlete, if you're at the top of your game at anything, you don't just get your professional development from 9 to 5. You don't just get better by playing in the games. You get better from practice. You get better from learning outside of work hours. And I think it's almost shocking to me sometimes when people are like, well, yeah, but I'm not getting paid for that or whatever. I'm like, you're investing in yourself. This is about you and your own skill set.
You got me pumped.
This isn't about like doing this for your boss. Like no one is ever going to care more about your career than you. And I think, you mentioned why some people, said that I was a good leader. Other people I think would say the opposite, because I know that I'm not a great leader for a certain persona. Okay. Is I care about people's professional development. And if you are one of those people that cares, I will help you get there much faster. If you're somebody who just like likes to come in and get a paycheck, I'm a really bad boss for you. And I learned that over the course of my career of being a bad boss for certain people, where I can't fathom people that don't want to grow. One of our core values is always growing at Scaled. Because I can't fathom not wanting to get better. I can't fathom being like, yeah, I'm good. I mean, we all have those parts in life where you can afford to run a little bit harder or you can't. Like whenever you first have a kid, there's those things that happen, or health-wise. But, that always growing mentality throughout my career and now in our company, people know this. They know, like, people that have come to Scaled and lasted a year versus people that have been there 3 years. This is not the place you come when you're like, I want to be comfortable. Like, that's not the company that we are. And we look for people that genuinely, everybody thinks they want to get uncomfortable until it happens. And then they're like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's fine. That's discomfort. So I think that ability to get uncomfortable, always growing, those are things that have stuck with me. And then as I've built this company now, are infused in the company.
I have two questions for you related to your sales success. One related to, why did you not give a you-know-what about rejection? It seems like you just were kind of bulletproof around that. And two, what led to your outsized performance versus the competition? So let's look at number one. Were you just wired that way to not give a you-know-what, or did you become more resilient
I made
over
it
time?
fun. I think, I remember some of this. I remember I made up voices. So like, there was Dinnick had retainers, so I'd cold call people, and I think it was like I was around. Maybe I wasn't I wasn't a performer or anything, but I think I was around a bunch of other younger people, and I think I managed to have fun with it, right, and not take it as seriously.
Yes.
And I think that that was helpful. Like I said, but I was always listening. If I heard somebody do something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to borrow that. So I think I did want to get better, so around like the sales techniques, around how to get people to like you, and you talk softer and they lean it. Like, I was very much early in my career a techniques person. Like, I would read the books. They would say, hey, try this technique to get people more engaged, right? So I think I was able on the rejection side to have fun with it and not take it personally. And then why I was successful initially early was I learned a lot of techniques. I read books. I listened to books, and I listen to my peers, and I realize I can learn from anybody, even the rep who's not performing. That person, something will come out of their mouth, and I'm like, that was good, right? But I'll tell you the transformational moment in my life, and I know we're going to talk about the book. I talk about this when I was 26. I worked in professional sports, worked for Major League Baseball team, then NHL team, the Coyotes.
Wow.
And from there, went into kind of technology, and in the training class, there was like 8 of us maybe, and they were just opening up a new office in Phoenix, and I was the second class person who hadn't sold anything. And I was confused. I'm like, I'm Jake Dunlap. I'm like God's gift to sales here. Like, how have I not sold anything? And I had a very transformational meeting, and I actually give him a shout out very specifically in the acknowledgments too. Evan Ross was my director, so my boss's boss. And I'm frustrated, not at anybody, at myself, just like, why isn't this working? And, selling sports is different than, this kind of more standardized technology, web type sales. And he listened to my calls, and he said, Jake, why aren't you following the process, and why aren't you following the script? And I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, I was good at the techniques, but I didn't have a process. And he goes, Jake, let me ask you this. Do you think we train 1,000 people on this process because we're stupid? Do you think this process doesn't work? And I was like, well, probably not. He's like, exactly. He's like, drink the Kool-Aid, like, run the process. And so I did. I read the discovery questions in order. Bump, bump. This is how you're supposed to position it. I did it. This is how you walk people through it. I did it. Next month, I closed $60,000 in new business. That is when I realized sales is a process.
Ooh.
That there are artistic components, but I can train an army of B players. If you are coachable, I can teach you how to sell, right? And a lot of people think it's God-given, and that's what separates like a B from an A plus or A minus, like this weird ability to get over objections. But it's the combination of the two, that there is a right and a wrong order of operations in how you should run a discovery process. There just is. And I think we like to look for all the outliers, but when you see the patterns in sales, sales is very much a process. And so for me, I had kind of early success from the techniques and the books and those things. But it wasn't until I went to this, larger company that I learned, like, oh my gosh, this is what a grown-up process looks like. And then I was able to take that with me and implement it at the next company and the next company and the next company. So it's kind of, and now it's evolved, obviously. But I think those are some of the things early in my career that were like big moments that I remember like very, very vividly.
So now I'm 30 years old. I was at Oracle, Google Cloud, and now a startup. And what you just shared of sales being a process and becoming a true professional really resonated with me. That's exactly where I'm at, and I'm starting to really implement a process. So I appreciate you sharing that for me and for the others that are out there in the audience looking to become true professionals and take it to the next level.
That's right. Yeah, I think I'm never going to, and I tell my leaders this, I would tell my sales leaders. So for a lot of you out there, if you eventually want to get into leadership, if you don't have a repeatable process, I'm never promoting you. Because I don't need a hero leader who jumps in and saves deals. I need a leader who can teach somebody how to sell. And like, that's a big conception people have about sales leadership. It's not just watch as I do. That's mentorship, not leadership. Mentorship is, hey, this is what you should do. That's why you have a mentor. They help you see around corners. Coaches, they ask questions, they guide, they have a process, they help you to discover things. And so I think for a lot of people, even what it takes to be successful in leadership, I think there's like some misconceptions, I should say.
So this time with you is gold, and we need to get to the book, The Innovative Seller.
Let's do it.
I had one more question though on process though before we get there.
Yeah,
and
please.
then we'll talk about some of the changes going on in the market.
Yeah, man. I love this stuff. So
okay, cool. So just at a super high level for a seller, what are your thoughts on like a standard like sales process? Like, what are some of the aspects of a sales process you need to focus on? I know it'll be different company to company.
No, it's not.
Oh.
No, it's not.
Oh. Okay.
Now, what I will say is think of it more like an accordion. There are parts of this process that will stretch if you have a big enterprise sale, like the proof of concept process and things like that. But no, it doesn't. I mean, I will give you a relatively simple formula that, again, can be adapted, but the steps might be shorter or longer depending on your sale.
Okay.
That's how I think about it. And I'll get really tactical here. So I'll try to do this in like less than 5 minutes. But the first is how you set a meeting agenda. And I'll start right there, which is the first 45 seconds of the meeting. Like, you know, do you get people excited for the meeting? I have a whole thing. Do not thank people for their time. This is a whole other thing that we can.
Shoot, I've been doing that, man.
We can get into about why you should never thank people for their time.
Okay, just tell us real quick, man.
Why are you thanking them for their time?
I guess, is that being a little needy?
Why? I don't think these people are more senior than me, but about my product, and if you're a seller and you don't believe this way, about my niche that my problem solves for, I know more than that person. They have a better experience than me, they make more money than me, they went to a better college than I did, but about this thing, and if you're a seller and you can't say that, that's step one, right? But as soon as you do that, sales is the only scenario where you would thank someone up front for their time. Like, why are you thanking these people? Like, I'm not saying you are like, you know, you're lucky to meet with me. It's more like I'm excited for the conversation. I'm looking forward to it. At the end, thank all day. I really don't care. Totally at the end. But
thanks for double clicking on that.
You immediately put them on a pedestal. And most sellers, I've heard some sellers that can say thank you and execute it with confidence, a direct tone. But most are like, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate their voice. Oh, thank you so much.
You sound like a cartoon character right there.
Go listen to your own calls.
Yeah.
Go listen to your calls, and that's exactly how you sound.
I've done it before.
If you sound like, I really appreciate it. And I'm telling you, when you talk to buyers, I ask buyers this. I go, how does it make you feel? They're like, uncomfortable. I don't know why they're thanking me. Buyers it makes buyers feel uncomfortable. I never
got that bit of empathy right there. Thank you for sharing
Think about that.
I didn't think about how they might feel.
You're just like, well, I mean, if I'm like, okay, you invited me on your podcast. And if I started the conversation, hey, Chris, thank you so much for taking me the time to have me on your podcast. How do you feel? You're like, hey, no problem. Immediately, it is a caveman, cavewoman instinct that I am signaling to you subconsciously, you are in charge.
Good point. No, I even question a little bit like, oh, why are they thanking me? Are they like unsure of themselves?
Correct.
It's crazy. And so, wow, what a look in the mirror for myself.
I'm excited for the conversation. Anyway.
That's good.
I'm excited for the conversation. And here's why. Chris, I know that you work at here. I've worked with other service cloud companies that have been scaling their process in the US. I'm looking forward to talking you through what that looks like. But each organization, at your stage is a little different in their expansion. So let's spend 5 or 10 minutes there. Then we'll spend a bulk of the time talking about what we do at Skaled. And then if there's a fit, we can talk about next steps.
That's
I've said
crisp.
That like
I like that.
15,000
I like that.
times.
That's really good.
So the
that's setting an
agenda, and then the discovery process. You need to know who you're meeting with. Tell me a little bit more about kind of like your department and the team. Because after that, I now know who needs to be in the next meeting. The whole goal of the first meeting is to get the next meeting, right? That's what you have to engineer. The whole goal is to get somebody excited enough to set the second meeting with you with other people. In today's day and age, there is no one decision maker. It doesn't exist. There's a decision-making team, and I talk about this in the book. The idea of a decision maker, singular, a champion, singular, an economic buyer, singular, is archaic. And there is a buying team where, sure, Johnny Smith might sign it, but in that buying team, there are 4 people that could say no. And if Rachel, the director, doesn't believe in it, she's just as much as the decision maker as the person who actually might finish signing it. That person's like the last person to know. So you have to know who you're meeting with, what their team looks like so you can drive next steps. Then you have to understand bigger business challenge. I'll link to, you know what I'll do for the show notes? I'll send you a template where people can do this.
I'm going to link everything in the description of the video, guys. Again, check out the Innovative Seller. It's linked in the description.
And I'll put a link to specifically the discovery script and why the order of operations. Then there's this then after that, you have to competitively differentiate. So look, in this market, here's what's happening. Use third-party stats. And then when you do the demo, we call it matching, which is if you can't say when you said this in the discovery, here's how we help, you shouldn't be talking about it. And most people have this you can have the same 6 points you hit on a demo, but based on the 3 things that Chris said, I'm going to say, great, Chris, you said these 3 things. First, let me show you how we can help you with that. So there's some very simple things you can do in the demo, and then you have to drive action. And again, I could get into the later parts of the sales process.
But what we'll do is we'll shift to the book now.
Well, it's cool. I'll talk about it later, or maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah,
maybe we'll do a part 2.
We have to.
We'll talk about the proposal process.
We have to.
Why people aren't
oh my
closing
gosh!
deals.
I have already learned so much, and what I love is I'll watch the game tape after to learn even more myself and take notes. And I encourage the audience.
Off. This is what I just rip every. Again, there's no value in recreating the wheel. There have been, maybe not billions, but at least hundreds of millions of sellers before you. Chances are they have done these things. Just borrow it. So borrow away.
So what are some of the changes in the market you're seeing around customer behavior, the introduction of generative AI that shapes the context for really this book, The Innovative Seller, and need to adapt? Yeah,
there's really 2, I guess, compelling factors I've felt. This book really evolved throughout kind of version 1 of what I pitched to the publisher and what it ended up being. With a lot of this stuff that, as I started to think more and more about what are the actual challenges that sellers are having, that sales organizations are having. And there's 4 kind of principles in the book, but I think there were 2 things that really drove me from what I saw. One, you mentioned one of the first, there's 4 C's. The first is commitment to technology and AI proficiency. And really that came out of, companies are investing all this money in technology. We do hundreds. So part of our business is we are the biggest implementation partner for some of the largest sales technology companies that you all use. So our team does hundreds of sales technology deployments. I have seen I have seen every permutation of technology implementation in the sales org that you could probably imagine.
Let's talk about the tools, by the way, just for the audience. So we're talking Salesforce, SalesLoft. Tell us the tools, you do everything,
Outreach,
right?
SalesLoft are kind of our 2 largest partners. But look, Gong, ZoomInfo, Apollo. We've got we're a HubSpot partner as well too. So you name it, our team has touched it. And there's pros and now they're all kind of marrying into each other's world, and so now it's even more convoluted. But anyway, for me, generative AI then kind of leapfrogged this. And so I'm kind of so glad I didn't finish the book before this, sooner, because generative AI, and again, we could do a whole show. Today I'm recording with Kevin Dorsey, and I have a series called AI Unleashed, where every other week we talk about trends in ChatGPT and what people need to do.
Wait a second. KD and I, we're going to have one of these we were going to do last year, but it's been pushing and pushing.
That's what I was just texting with earlier. Yeah.
Wrangle them in, baby.
Okay,
I have an email thread going, so I'll send him our thing. But that's amazing. What a small world.
Yeah, he and I have been doing that show since September, because he and I, we sat down at Pine House Pizza here in Austin. We had a beer and a pizza, and we started talking about generative AI. And it's wait, if it can do that, it can do that. And if it can do that, it can do that. And it was just this whole moment. And that kind of started it for me. It was late spring, early summer. And so as a sales leader or a rep, you need to be committed to understanding these tools. These tools are not going anywhere. And so again, if you use a tool every day, should you get certified in it? Or do you just want to know the 20% that your sales ops team trained you on? You probably want to know the other 80%. So I just think we have to have this, that to me was very obvious of teams. Sales leaders are trying to outsource, and sales reps are outsourcing their knowledge of these tools that are critical to their day-to-day to other people. Going back to always growing and bringing it full circle. It's if I'm using a tool every day, I need to be good at it so I can get the most out of it.
Yes.
Right. And that's one. And then a bigger, the subtitle is, it's what is it? Driving change in a customer-centric and AI-enabled world, I think is the tagline under it. But the next is the customer behavior. I want all of you to think about how you buy things as a consumer, and then how you buy things B2B, or even look at your own process. How much has B2C buying changed? And for some of you, you're like, Jake, I don't even remember what it was like before this. But like, fast forward literally 10 years ago. I'm not even talking about a long time ago. You're talking about, I think Amazon Prime existed, definitely no next day delivery. We were streaming stuff, but there wasn't like 500 streaming channels. Zillow was just coming out, but people still worked with like more realtors and things like that. Carvana didn't exist. Instagram was 2 years old. Right? Like,
oh yeah,
I think 2012 is when they got, maybe the 2012, I think maybe they got acquired by Facebook, somewhere around there. But long story short, we have learned to consume a ton of information asynchronously without talking to people. And at this stat I saw, I got it in the book, it's like 44% of millennials would prefer a salesperson-less experience. And I think we've just been started to train of how, let me just look at the information. Let me do it myself. And it used to be that maybe we didn't trust the buyer that they could do it, but now we're just trained to consume information in video format and to look at it and to click in and do things on our own time. And B2B sales is still running the same methodology. Medic was invented in 1996.
I didn't realize that.
1996. And this is one of the most prevalent B2B software sales methodologies. It was like pre-internet. And so you think about things, like I said, like the decision maker. It's bullshit now. Like, look at Gartner. Gartner says there's like 18 or however many people involved in every deal. As a seller now, there's more complexity.
Yes.
We have to be able to meet people. Hey, this person, McKinsey has some great stats that, again, you can in the book, and I can't remember that off the top of my head. It's like in the next 2 years, like people are going to want to serve at like $50,000. Like, I already work with your competitor. I know what I need. I've looked at the information. Make sure I get onboarded. Fantastic. But like, unless you can add a ton of value to this conversation, a ton of value, and that's what I want all of you to think about. Go listen to your calls. Are you adding value? Are you making me smarter? If you are not, you are in trouble, because people want to talk. Do you want to talk to somebody who's going to qualify you? Do you want to talk to somebody who's going to walk you through a demo that's literally copy and paste from the demo that you ran before? You don't. You don't want to talk to that person. And so the cool part is, as a seller, you can be an expert in your space. Some of the things I talked about before that made me successful 15 plus years ago, right? Is what still people want to interact with is when people are adding value to the conversation. Hey, I understand what you're doing. Here's the 2 other people we've worked with. Here's some things I want you to think about. Here's the nuances. Here's the information, and we can go from there. So those are some of the kind of core concepts that I think people need to be aware of. This, an understanding of technology, and then also different buyers are at different points in their customer journey. And we have this kind of one-size-fits-all conveyor belt. Everyone goes in at the very beginning. And so we have to create these more customized sales journey, which is a third C. And then sellers, how are you adding value? If you're an SDR right now, and I know you have a lot of audience, I'm just telling you right now, if you are hitting send all on templates, you will not be employed in 3 years. I was talking to a guy the other day. I was like, great. So they're just hitting send. I was like, why do you need send? So if your skill set, you're not learning as a rep, the industry, the trends that are happening. ChatGPT is also very good for this. It can help you to get up to speed on it.
By the way, we're going to double click into how to use ChatGPT with some examples. So I'm going to put a pin on it. Continue the thought.
Yeah, but that's really it. Is like, sellers now have to learn. It's always been the goal of sellers to add value in the conversation. You just really have to now, because AI is starting to get, AI and other technologies getting good at some of like early education type things. And we have Slack groups of industry experts and meet different things that people are doing. So people just have access to a lot more information. So that just raises the bar as sellers of how we need to show up if someone's going to want to have a conversation with us.
So I'm paying $20 a month for ChatGPT4, and I'm not really using it that well, but I've started to. Please tell me in the audience how ChatGPT for dummies for salespeople. Where do we get started? What are some of the coolest use cases?
Again, sign up stuff. Again. We'll put it in the link. Sign up for our AI Unleashed series.
Cool.
So we'll put that. That's me and Katie's. I think that'll just help you. There's just so many, and I think this is where so many companies and people are struggling. It changes the way that we as humans solve information now. And what I mean by that is we are used to accessing information through Google. And Google speaks in very broken sentences. And if you try to give it anything complex, Google it's like no results, right? And this is something actually you can give a ton of context to and can come around with like an answer for you. And so it's not just in sales, it's in everything. Like for me as a CEO, I had to fire myself for almost a week and just get versed in how to use it. And I talk to these sales leaders, it's like, how are you not doing something here? So I will try to give you a couple of like very tactical use cases. One, and again, we'll include some links to resources on Skaled that people can go check out for free. One is, well, I'm going to call it like discovery prep or industry prep, that if you have ChatGPT4, you can literally say, I have a meeting with this company, insert link to their page, their press release page. You can upload their last annual report or their last quarterly filing. I am meeting with this company. I sell this product, insert link to your product page. Here's a link to our case study page, and here's a link to this, right? So anything it could do. Usually in my first call, I want to find 2 specific things that this company is talking about on a consistent basis that is relevant to what we're doing. And in 25 seconds, it will pull from every single thing. It will match it all together, and it will give you, here's what you can do. And then you say, I'm meeting with this person. Copy and paste, just so you know, LinkedIn has blocked ChatGPT from accessing it. By the time this airs, maybe they won't, I don't know. But you can't copy and paste in a person's LinkedIn profile, so you can just copy and paste it. What I suggest you do is you go to posts, you go to their posts, you click posts, or you go to their activity, and you just copy, you hit see more on like 7 posts, and you copy and paste. I'm meeting with this person, and then I copy and paste in their about us too. It takes like 45 seconds. So you do the post, you do that. Now, based on trends the company's talking about, based on what we do, and this person, what are 3 relevant things that I could talk to them about based on what they care about, the company cares about, and how we solve it? That thought process would take me an hour and a half. Like if I was really preparing deeply for a meeting. So the ability to quickly get up to speed on people's business is just, and it makes for such more quality conversation. Like it's really amazing of like what it can do. And it's the same thing. Do not have ChatGPT write your emails, okay? But it's really good at doing value props, right? So we created a custom GPT called like Perfect Value Prop Builder, where it's like insert link to your company and your product page, insert what's the persona that you sell to. If you have a persona sheet, you could just upload it to, right? And then you could even go like steps further. Okay, now I want you to research trends for this persona in this sub-industry. We focus a lot of telling our clients to focus on sub-industries, like finance, because is 9,000 things, manufacturing is 850,000 things. So like what's the sub-industry? Persona in sub-industry. Now, what are the top 3 trends that persona and that sub-industry is facing that are relevant to the product set that we have? And now I can copy and paste in some of those value props into my email templates. So whether, I kind of went backward where that's where you're trying to set new meetings, you can use it to like become an industry expert. One of my favorite hacks too is after it does the value props for you, say, make this more industry jargony. And it will start to throw out, if you're reaching out to a manufacturing, VP of operations, it will start to insert, jargon that's relevant to industrial manufacturing and these types of things. And so now I can literally in, a couple of minutes, I can have an amazing value prop that's relevant to that person on, hey, I'm an expert in the space. Here's what I know the trends. This is how we typically think about those trends that you're probably thinking about. We should set up time to meet. So that ability to quickly get up to speed on people, like companies, is I think where most people should start. And I think that it's just, you can copy and paste links. Like that's it. That's all you gotta do is copy and paste links.
Can you use ChatGPT as your sales coach or trainer?
Dude, that's a whole other use case we can talk about.
Okay, let's at least click into it.
You can do a whole role play.
We got 6 minutes left.
We got 6 minutes?
I think so, right? Check how
we can go. We can go 7.
Let's go. This is an amazing conversation.
But I'll tell you, like, absolutely. Then I can take those value props and I can say, build me a multiple choice 15-question trivia game to help to teach me this industry. Once I answer, give me if I was correct or not, give me 3 sentences on why it's a trend, and then give me the next question. So I could then say, turn this into a trivia game for me. That's one of my favorite things to do.
I've never heard of that one before.
It's one of my favorite ones. It's also, you can do it with your buddies, like if you're having a drink, like I can do like Kansas City Chiefs 2023 trivia, and we can, relive the glory. You can also do role playing. Okay, great. Yeah. This is who you are. And just so you guys, if you don't know this, now on your mobile device, there's a microphone and ChatGPT has a voice. So I can just go start role playing straight with ChatGPT on my mobile in real time.
Can it do the lisp voice that or the retainer?
No, I don't know. I probably could program it to do dentist.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'll say is now let's take it a step further. Let's say Jake, I'm struggling to have executive conversations. Maybe I'm struggling to connect at the exec level. I can talk to end users. I can say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Here's the persona. Here's the industry they're in. Here's the trends. Here's what I sell. Build me a 6-week training program with 30-minute agendas, with detailed agendas for each meeting, and a workshop that I can complete before and after every single meeting to get better at executive conversations. I can do that literally in 30 seconds. So our ability to get better, faster, and it's really the first thing that can increase the volume and quality at the same time of the activities we're doing. Most sales technology could increase the quantity, but it wasn't as quality focused. ChatGPT can truly increase both. It can increase both the quality of the outcomes and the things that we're doing, and then the volume and frequency as well. I can do better prep more consistently.
So change isn't hard, but it's breaking bad habits. You had
That's
said
right.
that. Tell us what that means.
Well, what I'm telling you right now does not sound like this is not rocket science, like what I'm telling you right now. How the system works is rocket. I don't know that, right? So I think what happens is when you get to a certain point in your career, you start to have things that made you successful. And again, this goes back to it. Like as soon as I see something, I can easily pivot, right? So again, that's why with ChatGPT for me, I'm like, oh, I need to stop problem solving. However, I thought about problem solving for the last 20 years as a professional, I now need to pivot that and go problem solve completely differently. So I think for a lot of people is, look, you might have been a really successful salesperson or sales leader. There are all these trends. You got to take the leap. You got to start to implement some of these things in your day to day. When you buy a copy of the book, you get access to our Innovative Seller community. We've got a recording of the Innovative Seller Summit. So if it's before March 26th, you can join us live. If not, so I just think all of this is not about trying to fix everything. It's about taking pieces of it and starting to implement those in an ongoing basis. So, you can even think about your own customer journey. What's the experience that you provide? And what are 2 things that you could do to make that better for people or to better meet customers where they're at?
So I think community is so important. So let's double click real quick on the community you're launching.
Yeah.
And when is it launching and what can folks expect?
Hopefully it's live by the time this airs, but It should be like last week in February 21st. Don't hold me to it. Might be 26. So
Okay.
Let's call it 26. But if you buy a copy of the book, you'll enter it in and we'll email you when it's live. Look, here's what I knew. The whole concept of community, we don't need another Slack community. So I was like, you know what? The ability to DM and chat, like there is that ability in the community, but each of the 4 C's and, again, the commitment to tech and AI proficiency, current go-to-market, customized sales journey, and consistent performance optimization has kind of its own sections. We've got trainings in there. We've got a master's class on all 4 of those with me and Morgan Ingram.
Oh, cool.
Where we kind of talk through all those things. We're going to be doing live events there. So really like this, I hope this is a place that you come a few times a week and you're like, this is where people are talking about the new. This is where people aren't like, oh, I go to my Slack and I do this, but it's like, hey, I want to get better at this topic, or what? How can I get better? What's this idea of consistent performance optimization? How can I apply that to my outbound process? So this is where we're going to be adding content every single week, user contributions too, in terms of how people are applying it in their day to day. And the goal is, again, this becomes like a hub for you on, hey, if I want to get better at sales, this is the place I can go that curates a lot of that for me. And it's got a lot of smart people adding content too.
Can you talk about that last C of continuous improvement?
Yeah, consistent performance optimization. Again, another one we could do that for a full 45 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll just start to scratch the surface.
I'll scratch
dude,
the
we could
surface
do
for
like
you.
10 podcasts, which I hope we'll get there one day.
We'll get there one day. Look, the idea is I think pretty simple. Look, if you look at what our counterparts do in marketing, if they're spending $200,000 a month on Google AdWords, they spend 10 to 20% of that budget to optimize it. They change the copy. They change their segmenting. They do this. SDRs, we're spending $200,000 a month on SDRs. The goal is the exact same. Generate qualified meetings. Do you know how often people are optimizing outbound right now? 6 months, 12 months. You are pumping hundreds of thousands of data points. You should be changing your subject lines every week. You should be changing the copy every 2 weeks. If you see that you have an email that has went out 842 times and has a reply rate of 15%, that is a garbage subject line. You should be changing that in real time, right? If you see a reply rate of 0.3%, that is a garbage email. So we have to, and then the sales playbook is the biggest joke, right? We do these big overhauls. And look, people pay, we are changing this now. They're paying, Force Management, other companies that I won't mention. I'll mention them by name. But they were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement a new sales playbook every 3 years. Guys, you're running how many demos every single month? If part 3 is broken, fix it now. Like, why? It is insane at the speed at which sales optimizes and how archaically slow it is. And when buyer behavior didn't change, maybe that was okay. But now we have access to the information. I can already see in every single one of your Salesforce or HubSpot instances, look, your step 4 is going long. Do I need a whole new playbook to go fix step 4? I don't. And so it's this concept. And again, we get very tactical into how to do it. How do you build a more consistent process of optimizing versus instead doing these massively disruptive things every 6, 12, 24, 36 months? And any of you can do this. As reps, you can do this too. You need to have your own reports and dashboards. You need to be looking at your own data every single month. What worked, what didn't work, and then just looking at the data. Well, okay, why is Chris better at this? Chris, what are you doing at step 4? Well, I actually say this thing. Do that, and then look at my data. Did I get better at step 4?
I followed Jake Dunlap and applied his advice, so that's the differentiator. So, okay, we don't have a lot of time, but that other C that talks about personalizing the customer journey, I want to hear what is it exactly called, and just let's dig in a little bit.
So the third C, there's 2 C's we haven't talked really about.
Let's hit those.
There's a current go-to-market strategy, and that's really about. I can't say this any other way. You will not hit your outbound goals if you're hitting send all on templates. You have to personalize or do the relevancy-based stuff. Yeah. I'm sorry. And just because something has a human element, when you get a new Tesla, there's a human on that production line. And guess what? In all the different things you buy, the human is involved toward the end for quality assurance. My friends, you are that human. If you're the SDR, you are that human. Your job is to put the customization or the relevancy in before you ship the production. And so that's current go-to-market. We talk about that in marketing alignment. Yep. And then customized sales journey, very simple concept called VEX, which is vetted, educated, cold, and self-service. We need to have processes in place. If someone comes in at step 3, they use the competition, they do that. The very first call, we should have everybody from the team on that call. They already know the price. They already know this. They're already vetted. They've already done the research. And now they're coming to that first call or second interaction, and we're putting them back at step 1 or 2. And it's frustrating. If they're educated, they have a little bit more, they should be starting at step 2. If they're cold, great, start them in the beginning. And then I'm a firm believer, every B2B software company should have a self-service option for people to self-service and then have an amazing onboarding on the back end. And I think people will watch this in 5 years and be like, wait, people didn't have self-service? I promise you that this will be one of those moments where people are like, what do you mean they didn't have self-service? And like a $20,000 purchase, you had to talk to somebody? It's like, yeah, you did.
So this channel is about helping people create a life of freedom and impact through success in tech sales and the pursuit of self-development. And sometimes on this path, side hustles can emerge. And I think we were talking over coffee about, you're starting to hit on the importance of focus. And I just want to get your thoughts on, if we look towards a North Star of a life of freedom and impact, how should we think about the core roles in front of us, side hustles, and balancing everything out? Like, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, do whatever makes you happy. That would be like advice number 1. Advice number 2 would be, if you get really good at something, it becomes easier to have side hustles. Meaning, if you actually have a skill set that you have honed and developed, it just makes it easier because now you can just go play to those strengths. There's a reason I started a sales. I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. I never thought I'd start my own company. Until I did it, I had no aspirations to start my own company. 0. Sat down with my wife. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm going to go be a VP of sales again and go through the same BS like over and over. Like, this is my life. And I'm like, and again, hard pivot. I'm like, that's stupid. So now hard pivot this way. So I think you got to find something that you really love. And obviously you can tell sales is something that I'm passionate about. And so I think it's really hard to go deep and want to really learn if it's not something that you're genuinely interested in and don't want to be a student of that. So make sure you pick, hopefully day jobs, if not side hustles, where you want to do the work. The work is fulfilling for you. And, don't spread yourself too thin. I guess it'd be the other piece that you can be, some people are successful being jacks of all trades, but even if you go back, you look at the most successful YouTubers, etc., they had niches. They were doing this thing first. Their videos were about this first. Yes. There's a thing, I think it's called Sheehan's Wall. Is this phenomenon of like you start with this one thing, and then once you break through Sheehan's Wall, you can kind of be broader. So be okay to niche down. That would probably be my last piece of advice. What do you say? Riches in the niches.
Riches in the niches.
I think that's the saying.
And hey, I would also say to the audience, have passion. You can see Jake's passion, and your success isn't an accident. And I'm very grateful I get to experience this passion in studio with you. And I'm sure the audience can feel it through the camera. Thank you all for tuning in and checking out this conversation. Make sure to share it with more people who could benefit from the message. Make sure to check out the links in the description of this video and check out the Innovative Seller community, pre-order the book, get plugged in, and follow Jake on LinkedIn. Right, Jake, any other final calls to action or
challenges? You got the calls to action. Sign it, buy the book. It's $32 all in. You get access to all these things. If you hate the book, I will personally refund it to you, right? Like I have read this book so many times now, and it kind of can be cringe to do that, but I love it, man. I'm so excited with how it turned out and just like the tactical piece. So I promise you will not be disappointed. At least I like really, really hope you won't be disappointed.
So I thought of the gladiator in this conversation. He's like, "Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?"
That's my question to you guys. I certainly am. Jake, thank you so much for the entertainment and insight to your success in tech sales and in life. Happy selling and happy living, and we'll see you in the next one.